Good morning, family. The first weekly check-in of the year. I'm gonna do my best to stay consistent with our weekly check-ins so that I can give you some tools in order to continue to build an intentional life. So for today's weekly check-in, number one, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How was your 2025? How was the past? Did it treat you well, or did it not go so well for you? If not, don't worry. We made it to see another year, and I'm gonna give you some tools in order to continue to make this year the best year yet. So for today's weekly check-in, what I would love for you to do is to write a reflection about honoring your past. And when I say honoring your past, I'm not saying that to necessarily be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing. If there's a situation that is triggering you, or there is a situation in which you instinctively act, are you honoring the past? I know for myself, I found at the end of the year, talking to my therapist, that I dissociate really quick. I cut a relationship off, or I cut a situation off really fast. And a lot of that has to do with some triggers that I've had in my past. And one thing that my therapist helped me parse out was whether I was honoring my past, moving off of an instinctual impulse, or if I was actually coming to a conclusion through critical thinking and assessing the situation. And in some of our sessions, I was honoring the past, and my therapist was able to help me work through that and ask me questions in order to slow down and see if there was another outcome to some situations. And in some situations, he was able to point out that I was actually critically thinking and processing before I made a decision. So oftentimes we act off impulse. We don't even know it because of triggers, because of traumas, which is what I mean by honoring the past. And it's so deep in our subconscious that when we act, then we think about it a couple days later, then we're like, man, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I hadn't responded in that way. Maybe if I would have held off a little bit longer, I would have been able to have a better dialogue. And that's what we want to do. We want to start processing. Typically, we don't have the skills in order to process when the situation is heated and you're arguing, right? You're just going off an impulse. They say something to you, you say something back, and you're clashing, right? What we want to do is practice before we get into that situation. So this reflective exercise that I'm asking you to do is going to help you to be able to tap into that later when it does get heated and your emotions start to pump through you, and through your blood adrenaline starts going, and we want to make sure that we're practicing before we end up in that situation in order to respond and not react. Peace be upon you, family. Truly yours, the realest author you know.